Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. I am so glad to have you here. If you're new here, my name is Dana. I am a second generation homeschooling mama, and in today's video we are talking all things spelling. If you've been around for a while, you know that we kind of switched gears a little bit a few months ago and started incorporating the mcGUFFEY readers. And then when I started incorporating the mcGUFFEY readers, I went a little bit down a rabbit trail and found all things mcGUFFEY, including like the spelling. I even came across other Mott Media products, so like Ray's Arithmetic, which I will also get into a review of that. And I also have Harvey's Grammar. So I got like everything that Mott Media had to offer apart from their handwriting curriculum. So I thought I would today share with you their spelling from mcGUFFEY'S. I have the Eclectic Progressive Spelling book. This is the actual original spelling book. So I thought I would show you a look inside this and honestly do a side-by-side comparison of the revised spelling and kind of talk about a little bit of an update as far as what we're using for spelling in our homeschool, but really how we use it on the day-to-day basis in our everyday learning using the first reader, and then the this is the pictorial electric primer, which I use for my first grader. My first and second grader are loving these as part of their core reading curriculum. So today I wanted to share with you really how we do spelling using these primarily, and then of course we are going to do the side-by-side comparison of these, as well as just talk to you guys about one of the favorite ways that our family really likes learning spelling and what I have found that really helps my children become more fluent in spelling. And one of the biggest things that I've discovered probably the last couple months here is one of the biggest things that helps is honestly just reading. That has helped so much when the kiddos are actually hearing the vocabulary, when they're hearing them in full sentences, and then when they themselves are reading. So for example, we just finished 3 books here recently. We did The Family Under the Bridge. We finished one of the great illustrated classics. Well, we've actually done a couple of these this month, but this is Peter Pan. And then my daughter is into American Girl Doll right now. So we had the original American Girl Doll books, so we've been reading the Molly series. But one of the reasons why I wanted to share reading specifically when it comes to spelling is that they flow together beautifully, and I feel like with spelling it's going to be very difficult to learn how to spell and to teach children how to spell without them really grasping the idea of how they're used in sentences, but also seeing them on a page. And I've noticed in the past month especially that my first and second grader, the more fluent that they are becoming in reading, the better spellers they're automatically becoming, to the point where right now in first and second grade I'm not having to have a set core curriculum focusing on spelling because our focus is on reading fluency and just reading a lot. Again, that's in read aloud form, as I just showed you, and also of they're just getting out books and reading for themselves, and then seeing that kind of flow back into them reading out of their actual mcGUFFEY readers, and everything like that has just flown together beautifully. But that's just something that I've noticed that with our children is the more we read, the easier it is to spell words, to the point where I can take a list out of the Eclectic Spelling book and I can say, hey, can you spell this word? And about 85–90% of the time they can spell it, just because they've either read it so many times in their book, they've heard it in a sentence, so they know what it means. Now when it comes to a lot of the words like two, and two, and we'll ask them like, how do you spell the word two, as in it's too big, or how do you spell two as in the number 2? But when we're using it in sentences, and then when they're using it in actual books and seeing it on the page, it just flows together beautifully. So all that to say, again, is the more fluent that we are becoming in reading, the better our spelling improves. I feel like it's really difficult to have one without the other when it comes to spelling. I went ahead and turned the camera around, that way you can see exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to incorporating spelling and how we do it in our homeschool, especially on the day-to-day basis. When it comes to every single day, how we incorporate it, I do not use the spelling every single day. I do, however, utilize these when there are word groups or word families and special blinds that I know we just need help with spelling and we need help studying. Then I will pull these out, and they are incredible for that. We'll come back to this in 1 minute when it comes to advanced spelling and all of that. Anyway, I wanted to share with you exactly how we do it every single day though, because that is again what we're doing currently, what we're doing fluently. And while I do incorporate this, it's not every single day. This is every single day. So the Eclectic Primer is something that my first grader is almost finished with. I'm going to come to the lesson here that she is currently on. I'm going to kind of talk you through a week of how we use it, and especially when it comes to being spelling focused. I've mentioned before on my channel that one of the reasons why I love this is because we take pretty much a whole week on each lesson. However, if she's mastered all the words, she can spell them, she's fluently reading, she's reading with expression, she can pick out all the parts of speech within the thing, then we will flip over and go ahead and move on. And sometimes we will do 2 lessons in a week. However, if we are struggling either pronouncing words or reading them or needing help spelling them, then we will stay on on it for an entire week. We've never really gone over one, like, 4 to 5 days per lesson. But on the first day, typically we will read through the words and then we'll read through the whole story roughly the first time. So based off of how well she's reading it, we will take our words that we're struggling with. I will write them in that Sherry Hayes lesson book that I've also talked about a lot on my channel. I'll have that link down below so you can take a look at it and the videos that I have used talking about it. But I will take the words that she is either struggling pronouncing or maybe we need help learning how to spell, and I will write that on that first day in the lesson book. On day number 2, we will go through the words again. Any other missed words, we'll go ahead and put in the lesson book, and she'll do the copywriting. She'll study them for maybe 2 to 3 minutes, and I'll actually ask her, even the very first time she's copied them, before she does that for the first time, I'll say, hey, as you're copying them out, go ahead and pay attention to how they're spelled. So if, for example, we had the word mother in her lesson book, so I would say, okay, go ahead and write the word mother, do the copy work, but as you're writing it out, let's spell it together. So M-O-T-H-E-R, this is how we spell mother. And so we're verbally doing it, we're writing it out, we're doing the copy work, we're seeing it in the story. And this is the other thing too, is when we're using the mcGUFFEY'S actual word list here, when we're using the words that are part of this story, she's actually seeing it in a sentence. So it's not just a list of spelling words to memorize. She's seeing the words that she's learning how to spell come to life in the story. And I think that's a big missing link when it comes to an overall spelling curriculum, is actually having your spelling list be directly incorporated to the story. This is something that I feel like she masters really, really well. Both my first and second grader will talk about what my first grader does as well, or I'm sorry, second grader does as well. But it's very, very similar to, we will use our study words as our spelling words. And because the spelling and the reading go hand in hand, as I mentioned in the beginning, I just found that they thrive beautifully when it comes to mastering spelling, so much to the point where we haven't had to use this very, very much. But I wanted to mention one of the main reasons why I love incorporating spelling like this on the day-to-day basis is, again, they're taking their list and putting it into action with their words. And by the end of the week, they have read this 4 to 5 times. They're reading it with expression. They know all the spelling words because they're reading it every day. They've written these out. They've copied this with both copy work and narration and dictation. And it's beautifully done, especially using that lesson book. It has it all laid out for me. Actually, you know what? Let me go grab it really quick. I have shared it before, but just in case you're new here, you'll know what I'm talking about. One second. Here's the lesson book that I have, again, talked about many times on my channel. But I really wanted to give you an in-depth look at exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to spelling and how we do that with our kiddos. So on day 1, we're going to take our reading list. Whatever word she gets incorrect, we're going to add that into her lesson book. And this is where I was saying where I would put the word mother. She would do the copy work and draw a picture of a mom or whatever she wants to. Like, my daughter is an artsy little girl. She loves doing art and she loves narrating pictures and things like that. So this is right up her alley. It's perfect for her. It really makes the lessons come alive. So she's not only doing the copy work, and I'm not only saying, okay, we're going to study the words as we write M-O-T-H-E-R. And so she's going to write it, draw the picture, and it really does make it come to life. Plus, she's reading the word mother in the actual story. So again, it ties together beautifully. On day 2, as I mentioned before, she's again going to use the words, and we're going to pick out some other words that we need help with, and then that's day 2. On day 3, and this is one of my favorite things about teaching language arts or spelling, writing, reading in general, is copy work is so incredibly powerful, because you're not only, here's the word mother in this sentence. So she is very happy. Her kind mother gave her a new bird today. And she's reading it and she's copying it. She knows what it looks like in the sentence. She spelled it over and over again. So by day 4, when we do dictation, because this is a lesson book for 4 days, and then on the 5th day, we read it for the final time, and that's all we do for the 5th day. But for the 4th day, she's dictation. So when I say, okay, can you say, her kind mother gave her a new bird today? She'll write this out, and she has already mastered the word mother so many times because she's copied it at this point 3 times. She's read it so many times and she's very fluent in it. So I love that by the end of the week, she knows all of these words. She can spell them perfectly. She's reading with expression and it ties together beautifully. But I also think it does help with spelling when you're taking the word and putting it into action. You're copy working, dictating it back and orally spelling it back, and it's incredible. So by day 5, typically we average 4 days a week for our homeschool. But on day 5, if we do a day 5, she'll just read this for the final time, and she'll be done with her entire reading type of language arts lesson in 5 minutes, under 5 minutes. So at this point in the week, so let's say on day 4, I'm giving her a very light version of a spelling quiz where I'll say, hey, can you spell the word glad? or can you spell the word floor? So you have the gl and the floor, right? So sometimes it's hard for her right now to get the gl and the floor spelling. So this is when on day 4 or 5, if we're still struggling with those blends, that is when I will bring in the eclectic spelling book, and we will work specifically on the spellings of the either gl or floor or what other blends that she is struggling with. I found that doing it this way, to where we're only using the formal spelling book as needed, really helps us keep our busy book work and our actual time when it comes to studying spelling and reading down to a minimum. So this will be kind of like our 5th day thing. We will open this up, find the list of maybe things that we're struggling with, and then go from there. Now, I'm going to switch over to just looking at the spelling real quick. I'm going to show you the revised spelling book and then kind of compare it a little bit to the eclectic, like the original progressive spelling book. So when it comes to using the mcgUFFEY'S spelling book, I'm going to speak as in my personal experience from only using these after my kids have already learned how to read. We learned how to read using the Christian Light Education Learning to Read program. 100% highly recommend that one. That's one of the best reading programs I've ever used or have ever used, and I will continue using that for learning how to read and teach my kids reading. So I'm going to be talking to you guys about this spelling book based off of if your kids already know how to read, where to jump in, how to kind of do it and incorporate into your homeschool. If you are not using the mcgUFFEY'S, then you can honestly use these as a supplement to boost up any type of language arts program, or if you need help spelling, because they are beautifully done, they are very gentle, and I just love them. Anyway, my kiddos did already know how to read before starting this program, so I did not find that we needed to start at the very beginning. But if you do want to start at the beginning of this, and if you have brand new readers, this is a wonderful, wonderful option. You're going to start with just the lesson 1, the short sounds of vowels. So am, an, as, at, ax, rat, sat. So on lesson 1, all you're going to do is practice the short sound of A's and the short sound of E. I did want to show you just a quick glimpse of the difference between the revised version and the original progressive spelling book. Now, when it comes to the readers, sorry I'm jumping all over the place here, I definitely prefer the originals over the revised when it comes to reading, only because I find this quality of the stories in the original are just beautifully done. They're high moral, high character, high faith-based stories, and then the revised version took out a lot of those really good stories. So I definitely, when it comes to the readers, prefer the original. However, when it comes to the spelling, I do like the revised for homeschooling in this day and age, only because they do the diacritical marks when it comes to teaching how to read. So this is the updated version of if you were teaching your kids to read in this day and age, it's wonderful. So you have all the short vowels marked. So for lesson 1, you would be focusing on the sound of short A and the sound of short E. Again, taking a whole week to master these lists and to master the spellings of them. And as I mentioned before, I'm speaking from my kids already know how to read, so jumping in to maybe some lists that we need help with. So we're gonna jump ahead. Let's go ahead and say like lesson 6 would be a good point to where my first grader would need help with, because the AR, card, hard, bark, dark, and those types of blends. So whatever your child is needing help with, it's easy to jump ahead to that lesson and just help them really thrive in spelling. But I do love that the new version does do diacritical marks, because I have found that it just helps my children have a visual of how a word is actually spelled and what the sounds and the letters and what the sounds actually make. I do like the visual that has. So even the C's have the marks in them and everything like that. So definitely a wonderful addition. Again, if your child is still learning how to read, this would still be a good option. Just take it very, very slowly and gently. But if they like the visual marks of seeing, if it's a long vowel or a short vowel, this is a wonderful option. So the difference between the revised and the original is the original does not have diacritical marks, but what they do, and I do find this very interesting and unique, and I love it just as much as this one. Even though I do use this one more regularly, I do love the way that the original does it as well. So for this one, the student is going to be focusing on mastering the phonics rules. And so for example, we're going to go to the sounds of the vowels. A has 4 sounds. First, a long sound as in fate. Second, a flat sound as in R, 3, and then a broad sound as in fall, and then what? 4th, a short sound as in fat. So for example, there's 4 different ways that you can say A. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch over to the first lesson, And on the top here, let me make sure you can see this 1 second. So the reason why in the original mcGUFFEY'S you need to master all of your phonics rules before doing the lesson. So you're going to be writing these all on index cards. So E has 2 sounds. The first is its long sound as in me, second is short sound as in met. So you need to memorize all of your phonics rules before moving on to the actual words list. And I'll show you here why that's important. So for example, in section 1, you are going to be having rule number 1. It says rule number 1 is you're going to have the long A as in fate. So for this whole line, you're going to read it as in bay, day, fay, hey. Same thing, rule number 1 for the vowel sound E, which is up here for me. So you're going to go B, D, fee, he. So now we're on the vowel sound I. So you're going to go up here. What is the number 1 rule for the I, long I? So you're going to go by, die, fi, hi. Next, you're going to have what is the number 1 rule for the O. So you go back up to here, it's going to show you just the long O. So bo, do, fo, ho. And then number 1, what is the rule for U? So then when you move on to section 2, you're going to have syllables of 2 letters beginning with a vowel. What is the number 4 rule for A? So we come back over to this page. It's the short A as in a. So you're going to go ab, ac, ad, and af, if that makes sense. So it's really important for your student to know all the phonics rules and every single sound that those letters make because they're numbered. So I do love how it is done like this. So you can tell your student, okay, this is the first rule of A, is on a long A, so you're going to go down the list. But the whole book is done like that, and I actually do like that they do that because every single word is going to have the associated rule with it, which I do love. And I think it's a good thing to know all the different spellings either way. Very easy to use once you know what the different numbers stand for, but I do think it's beautifully done. And again, there's something about holding an actual piece of history as well. That was the big difference is the original, you know, so many people since the 1800s have been learning spelling and language arts by using these books. So if you have a child who is more visual, I would say definitely recommend the revised spelling because of the diacritical marks, and it will tell them hands-on, or I should say, I'm sorry, visually, exactly what letter sounds it makes if it's a short E or a long E, etc. Whereas in the original is based off of the actual phonics rules. It's not going to visually tell your student if this is a long or short A, whereas in this one will tell your student if it's a long or short A. So this is going to tell you what rule to use when spelling. So it depends on the style you are going for, how you want to teach your kids to spell, if you want to teach them visually and by a picture form, or if you would like to do strictly off of spelling rules. Both again are beautiful options. And the only reason why I don't want to say I'm picking a favorite or have a best one out of these two is because every family is different and every family learns differently. I love both of them, honestly the same. Even though I use this one because the diacritical marks, I think they're just both beautifully done. And if you want a standalone spelling curriculum, 100% recommend. This is a non-consumable thing, so you can get one of these and use it for all of your kids for life. So it's one of the most affordable spelling things that I have ever come across. So a couple other differences is, of course, English has changed since this was developed. So this is updated into a more modern English language. To be perfectly honest, prefer a little bit of the old-fashioned language only because I like older things in general, and I really like the originality and the fact that, again, you are holding a piece of history with this. But again, every family is different. I just wanted to do a light comparison of the two in case you were deciding on what one to get for your family. I also wanted to throw this in here again. I did a designated video on Splendid Spelling, but I wanted to mention it again because Sherry Hayes, when she developed this, used a lot of the mcGUFFEY methods when developing this. So this is another great option. If you want something open and go that's spelling focused, it takes a whole week focusing on one lesson. It's soft and gentle and also beautifully done. If you want something, again, more open and go. Well guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed seeing a look at the original speller and the revised. Again, you cannot go wrong with either one of them. It's hard to pick a favorite because I think they both teach spelling a little bit differently, and I don't want to say so differently because it is similar, but it is also a little bit different. So based off of what you like to do with your family and how you like to teach reading, I highly recommend both of those. But thank you guys for watching. Again, I hope you enjoyed it. And until my next video, you guys have a great day wherever you're doing, and God bless.